honour of St. Patrick and preparing indeed to celebrate our feast day prayerfully and accompanying you with this theme that we have been embracing these past days on all things evangelization. And it's been lovely to have had many wonderful speakers and contributors coming on the radio here and sharing with us part of their journey in faith and the marvellous work that so many are doing around Ireland at this time. Still, in fact, promoting and preaching the gospel, as of course here on Radio Maria we're seeking to do all the while. And that's of course with your kind help and your assistance and your support, for which we are immensely grateful. So many indeed of you who are so kind, who pray with us and accompany us in prayer and for us too, and help promote and encourage the work of the radio and help us financially. So many, many thanks indeed. As we speak, there is a little promotion going on down the country here. There is in Wexford, let me just get the exact details for you. It's a trade show, a seniors trade show, I suppose is what you might call it. Let me see if I can get the exact details for you there. But it's something that we had been invited to and asked to come along and attend and have a little stand at. And it's a kind of a few days away for seniors to embrace and share and have a little time off together and celebrate, but also to see what other businesses and what supports and helps are available for seniors in so many ways. So, and there is a lot of wonderful activities, and I suppose maybe if it's a trade show, it's a way of getting seniors to spend their money. You might be the cynical approach to it, or probably the less excuse me, the less glamorous understanding of it. Let me see if I can find the exact details here now again. No, it'll come up. So Mary Houghton and Liz are down there celebrating that, and we have a little stand there, and we're promoting at it and encouraging the seniors who attend to come along and be part of Radio Maria. No, that's not coming up for me for some reason. No, let me try again. Trade show. One more time, bear with me. If not, I'll dig it out at the break. No, it won't come up for me. And anyway, I know it's in a hotel there in Wexford. I just didn't have the details immediately to hand to share with you. But I'll give that little shout out later on. And today is the day when the exhibition hall, a bit like the Divine Mercy, there's a little hall or a room there where there are the various groups and trades and services that are on display there for seniors, by way again of services that are available. So there is one, I'll just mention it here now because Liz kindly sent it to me, a chap called Damien Lenihan. He's a volunteer organisation called Senior Line, all one word, Senior Line. So he says they have 100 volunteers nationwide and are a confidential listening service for older people, celebrating 25 years this year. So Liz met with him and invite him to come on and talk to us. So we'll, please God, get in touch and see what all his work is about. It's nice to hear that it's a volunteer service. And he says they're not a counselling service, but just very much a listening ear. It looks like Damien is involved with the community radio as well, somewhere here in Dublin too. So that's interesting. So very good. That's nice to know. The Senior Line is called, so we'll look him up and we'll get a bit more information for you. So great to see these kind of things coming to the fore and making themselves known and providing that kind of service. So very good. This is part of the work of promotion, and of course last week we had a lovely gathering in Knock as well. It was nice to meet. I have a little party pack here that I got from Knock. It was nice to meet Father Richard and the team, and so many wonderful people who are organisers of pilgrimages to Knock, and they've issued a little map there, and part of the conversation was, for newcomers to Knock, or those who don't come so often to the shrine, how they might find their way around, how they might maximise on the day they have there, and just thoughts and suggestions as well. Of course, the shrine has been beautifully renovated and decorated of late, And every aspect of it indeed is looking absolutely marvellous. So we have a list of all of the pilgrimages that are taking place each of the weekends from April through to October. And so Divine Mercy Sunday is just named there as Sunday the 16th of April. The Apostolate of Perpetual Eucharistic Adoration will have their pilgrimage on the 23rd of April, and then Dublin Diocese will follow on the 29th. So Common Nasagat pilgrimage, there's one I haven't heard of. It must be a gathering of priests, Gaeltacht priests maybe as well. So onwards then through the season, of course, of the summertime, the pilgrimages to Knock. My own diocese there is on the 14th of May. There's a Faith and Light pilgrimage. Connery and Clonfert and Galway come together, the Palatines and the SMAs, the Knights of Columbanus. The Rosary Rally, of course, on the 3rd of June, which unfortunately I'll have to miss because I'll be going to Lourdes myself with our own diocese that time. But if you can at all get to that, is that Archbishop Ndembe from Nigeria is coming to speak, and speaking about the power of the Rosary against terrorism there, the Boko Haram, that famous story. So that'll be worth listening into, and his great faith in the Rosary. So he's coming for the All-Ireland Rosary Rally on the 3rd of June. So worth putting that in your diary at least. So you might like to make not just one, but maybe several pilgrimages to Knock. We'll of course be hoping to travel along ourselves. Again, we'd love to have a Radio Maria pilgrimage as such, but given the size and time and the space, they've been trying to gather together the smaller pilgrim groups so that they can share a day's, let's say. But I say many of the diocesan pilgrimages there, Kilmore and Meath, Rafo, Elphin and Kerry, Limerick, all have their own Clogher as well. Great to see that. But then the various different groups, of course, too, the Legion of Mary, actually Derry and Killala's there down in Connacht, the Northern Diocese too. Fantastic to see that. Very popular, of course, coming down from the north down in Connacht there too. But St. Joseph's Young Priest Society, Mary's Meals, nice to see that. The Oblat pilgrimage, of course, you see they're all the grandparents, of course, a lovely one as well. Let me see, the Charismatic Weekend is there. Curcio, interesting, from the north. World Fatima Apostolate, the Padre Pio pilgrimage too. And the Legion, of course, then the end of September, which is always a fine big one. So it's lovely to see it, all the many dioceses all around the country coming to Knock, and we're going to do our best, please God, now that we have this in hand, to try to be present for as much of the season as we can, and certainly to be there for the Knock Novena, which concludes, of course, 17th of August is the Feast of Our Lady of Knock, and the 22nd will be the conclusion, or the Queenship in or around would be the conclusion of the Novena as well. So please God, it's another step forward, and again, it's our ambition, please God, to be present and to be at the service of the shrine at Knock, and to be at your service too, in enabling that for you and encouraging you on that path. So just for the month of April, just to mention, Divine Mercy Sunday the 16th. I don't see a special pilgrimage as such, but perhaps there is a Divine Mercy Apostolate going to Knock, or I'm not sure if there's an organisation as such that takes a group there, but nice to be able to celebrate there. We'll bring, of course, Holy Mass, as always, every Sunday at 3 o'clock from the Basilica here on Radio Maria for you as well. The 23rd of April is the Apostolate Perpetual Eucharistic Adoration Pilgrimage. The 29th, Dublin Diocesan Pilgrimage here from Dublin Diocese. That's the Saturday. And the 30th is Common Nasagat. It's in the parish church, pilgrimage there. So that's just the ones coming up for the month of April. And we can keep you informed indeed of the others as they unfold in the course of the pilgrimage season to Knock. And I mentioned too at Knock Shrine how we at Radio Maria put ourselves at the service of all of the pilgrimage groups coming to Knock. And indeed, if there are any, and if you're listening or you know any of the organisers, do get in touch with us. Do please use Radio Maria as an instrument in your hands to be able to promote your pilgrimage. Again, we're all, as I see it, kind of on the same team. It's all part of the same work. and all this is marvellous, really. We are very happy to be able to support that great Marian movement here in Ireland to our beloved shrine. Now it's St. Patrick's Day coming up. We're looking forward to a few little extra items. I will be on Radio Maria France live a little bit later today, about 1:30, which I think is 2:30 in France. And just a short interview. I have un peu de français, but it wouldn't be enough to hold forth on an interview on a radio. I might chance a couple of words if they come to mind. Secondary school French, book French, which would not impress at all, I'm sure. But an opportunity just to speak about St. Patrick and his life and times and the faith here in Ireland too, for the listeners to Radio Maria France. Lovely. I sent off a short audio clip as well to Radio Maria Croatia in anticipation of St. Patrick's Day. A lovely lady there was in touch with us and anxious to feature some little element about St. Patrick. I sent her on to the link to the new hymn and song that Dana has launched this week. And it was great to have Martina Purdy on yesterday from the centre there in Downpatrick, chatting with us too. That was where the launch took place, of course, on Monday. And I hope you were able to catch some of that here on Radio Maria as well. But a lovely interview with Dana last Saturday, which we must replay for you. And certainly it's available as a podcast too, speaking about the origin and the bringing to be of that hymn in honour of St. Patrick. So I sent that off as an attachment and sent off a little audio as well to our friends in Radio Maria Croatia. So that'll be another little moment when St. Patrick features in the World Family of Radio Maria. And I also did a little interview when I was over in Italy with one of the team from Radio Maria Bosnia-Herzegovina. And they too will feature that little clip again in honour of St. Patrick on St. Patrick's Day. So it's quite extraordinary. St. Patrick and the Irish perhaps didn't have so much of an influence in Eastern Europe, I don't think. Perhaps a little bit of overflow. But certainly with the huge number of pilgrims who go to Medjugorje constantly, the Irish have certainly made their presence felt, as we do every time we go on pilgrimage, whether it's Knock or Medjugorje or Lourdes or wherever it happens to be. We love to go on pilgrimage. So that's lovely indeed. There's been some bit of influence in that way. So much so kind of endearing ourselves, again, in faith, to the hearts of other nations. And in case you didn't know, I mentioned it in the little audio piece for Croatia, how St. Patrick since 1961 is a patron saint also of Nigeria, which would be one of the largest Catholic populated countries in Africa, if not in the world. A huge Catholic presence, but again a very major influence of Irish missionaries, St. Patrick's Missionary Society, the Kiltegan Fathers, the White Fathers, the Spiritans, the Holy Ghost Fathers, and many religious sisters, of course, too, who have done such enormous work in the last 150 years in education and in health care and in preaching the gospel in Nigeria. And so we would be very close in that regard, and St. Patrick held in great esteem. I'm sure in time they will get a native patron saint as well, and St. Patrick will no doubt be displaced, or he'll be maybe honoured as a co-patron in time to come. But as a young community of faith, indeed, isn't it such an honour, such a blessing that St. Patrick will be considered in such great esteem in Nigeria, and how many cathedrals and churches named after him, and no doubt used as a boy's name, maybe a girl's name too, I'm not sure, in Nigeria too. So the influence of St. Patrick is marvellous. We do hope indeed around lunchtime on St. Patrick's Day to join with Holy Mass from St. Patrick's Cathedral in New York. There'll be a nice little feature as well to our St. Patrick's Novena. And at 10 o'clock on Friday night, we'll be airing again that lovely interview with the late Bishop David O'Connell. And I put a little post on our Facebook page, and I did, what do they call that on Facebook, a boosting of the post in the Los Angeles area. And I'm hoping it'll get a little bit of traction among listeners and viewers of Facebook, users of Facebook in Los Angeles. I must send the link also to the Archdiocese of Los Angeles too, for those who might be interested. They might well circulate it among their parishes, because the reason being, of course, it connects with St. Patrick's Day in 2021, when Bishop David joined us for a beautiful round table discussion. It was Aisling Barco, of course, who had spent some time with Ned Ministries and had encountered Bishop David and was just so pleased, really. He was very supportive of their work that they were doing. And to follow up, gave him a call and said, will you come on? Now, it was the middle of lockdown, so it meant we got a full hour of the Bishop's undivided attention, which was probably not otherwise at all possible. But on St. Patrick's Day, in order to make that connection again with the missionary outreach of our people. And Sarah hosted the Sarah Moynihan, who's now married as well, of course. What's Sarah's surname? No, you're testing me. Married a lovely young man from Medjugorje. I can't think of the surname. I'll have to look that one up too. So Sarah and Aisling were there, and myself and John Carlin. And it was just a lovely roundtable conversation in connection with matters of faith and of mission, and again the amazing spread, if you like, of the influence of the Irish in terms of faith all over the world, from Los Angeles to Nigeria, and to the Far East, to Latin America, to extraordinary, really. So we've a lot to be grateful to God for, and a lot to live up to, you might say, as well, because the mission task hasn't ended. It's not a bygone era. It's not something that has just faded away into the mists of time or the pages of history. To in a certain way, yes, the missionaries of ancient Ireland, following St. Patrick, and during the Dark Ages, of course, evangelizing and re-evangelizing Europe, that's back in the mists of time. But again, it hasn't been forgotten as just an ancient chapter in a history book. It's very much alive today, because the faith that was spread through these great monks and missionaries of old, I've been mentioning St. Kilian, St. Columba, St. Brendan, that faith lives on to this day. Those seeds that were sown centuries ago are still bearing fruit in great maturity of faith. And indeed, the second wave of missionary activity from our country in the last 150 years, again, is still bearing fruit in its own way. And today we see the faithful remnant, indeed, of those missionaries, and those that have settled into retirement at this stage too, and some of whom indeed are accompanying us here now, I know, on Radio Maria, are giving way to a new rebirth of missionary activity and work, which is maybe not as would have been envisaged, a little bit different perhaps, and we're seeing it as very much a two-way street, that we're seeing now priests from Africa and from India making their way here to Ireland and working in dioceses around Ireland. We're seeing missionary young people, lay people and religious coming from the US into Ireland and helping to sustain and build on the deep faith and culture that's here, even in the face of great challenges. All that is continuing as well, and it's bringing great blessings. And as I say, the two-way street is continuing. You have the likes of Net Ministry and Focus Mission, the Holy Family Mission. These are great groups in themselves who are sending out missionaries here in Ireland and indeed outside of the country too. And if I may add to that list, Radio Maria, in its own gentle way, I hope as well, is likewise from home, reaching far afield and far away with the gentle voice of the many beautiful presenters and uplifting music and talks and testimonies that are part of any good Catholic radio broadcasting. And we're part of a worldwide mission of 90, give or take, Radio Maria stations, and growing. As I mentioned, the news brought back from Italy there, many requests coming in for new Radio Maria stations to begin, 17 of them alone in Africa, and hoping to start Radio Maria in Ethiopia and in Egypt. Marvellous, that northeastern corner of Africa too. This would again bring great blessings, and as we know, so many of these countries dominated by all kinds of problems of poverty, of violence and war and disruption, and Islam as a strong presence too in some of these countries, presenting, as it does, many challenges. But when has there not been a time when there haven't been challenges? When has there not been a time when, there has been difficulty or struggle or again our human nature comes to the fore, and the weaknesses and burdens upon the church from those even within. This is very much a feature of how God writes straight with crooked lines. God raises up the lowly. God uses the weak, and he can even turn the mess that I make of things into something good and wholesome and life-giving and bearing grace. But so long as we seek and strive to remain faithful and to live according to the gospel, the Lord will bless and honour that, even though it is marred and broken or sullied by my limitations and my weakness and my incapacity. That's simply a feature. I mean, it's like the family in a way, isn't it? You know, the family, it's made of human beings with our own particular charisms and characteristics, but also with our weaknesses and with our faults. This is nature. This is the part of every family, and yet somehow, through all of that, it's possible by God's grace to come through and to make our own contribution when the time comes. You know, we grow up, and sure, what family is perfect? There isn't one. Show me one and I'll be impressed. The Holy Family, maybe. And yet in the midst of it, God's grace can work, and does work, and brings about greater good as a result, maybe, of the brokenness of situations that we are confronted with. So that gives us great hope, and not to lose that hope or become despondent or despair or downcast simply because weakness manifests itself or sinfulness enters into a situation. All the more reason to fall back on grace, and all the more reason to trust, and all the more reason to push forward. Remember John last week talking about our business model here. You know, kick the ball on down the pitch and keep running after it. It's an interesting little analogy, but the idea is that, you know, you don't stand still. We can't afford to stand still. And if we struggle moving forward, but at least we're moving forward. I think it's true in any battle. Do you know, if there are soldiers trying to defend their position, or trying to advance the line, let's say, it doesn't do just to dig in and stay put, and because you become an easy target. Even though there's danger, they still have to move forward. They have to change position. They have to move. They have to keep the enemy guessing and keep pushing forward in order to win the victory. And the same is true in the spiritual life. There's no standing still. There's no sitting on the fence. We have to be moving forward and not allowing ourselves to get too comfortable. I'll pause for a little piece of music. Adele is kindly at the mixing desk there. I was handed a CD by Father Andreas Schatzel. And Father Andreas, of course, was the priest director of England, Radio Maria England for a time, also for many years priest director of Austria. But he's now a priest on the World Family of Radio Maria. And I tried to ask him, would he consider himself the troubleshooter for, and he didn't buy into that term. He's really, I suppose, a support priest who travels around on behalf of the World Family to visit radios and to help encourage their work, and maybe offers some spiritual advice, and of course his vast experience of Radio Maria in Austria. Anyway, he's one of the priests in Austria. You know, we have the 3 priests here in Ireland who made it big time for a while there with a record deal, and they're singing, and yet they're ministering in their respective parishes above in Down and Connor. Well, Father Andres is one of the priests that kind of took off in Austria too, and he has since linked up with a Franciscan priest who plays the guitar, and both are talented musicians and beautiful singers. So this is in German now, but it's an Ave Maria that they sing together. I don't have the second priest's name. I must find that out for you as well. We might have listened to it. But in the meantime, do please text us 089-467-2000 +353, of course, if you're in the north or elsewhere. 894672000. Drop a comment here on our social media as well if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube or Twitter, and we love to look back at those and respond to them too. And if you'd like to call us up, we're on 014123456 +353 144 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, Adele, if you have that little piece of music to hand, we'll have a listen.
Ave Maria, zart du edler Rosengart, Lilien weiß ganz ohne Schaden. Ich grüße dich zur Stund mit Gabrielis Mund, Ave die du bist voller Gnaden. Du hast des höchsten Sohn, Maria, rein und schön in deinem keuschen Schoß getragen. Den Heiland Jesus Christ, der unser Retter ist, aus aller Sünd und allem Schaden. Denn nach dem Sündenfall wir waren verstoßen und sollten ewig sein verloren. Da hast du reine Magd, wie dir vorher gesagt, uns Gottes Sohn zum Heil geboren. Darum, o Mutter mild, befiehl uns deinem Kind, bitt, dass es unser Sünd verzeihe. Endlich nach diesem Leid die ewige Himmelsfreud durch dich, Maria, uns verleihe.
There you are. Thanks, Adele. Beautiful piece of music, wasn't it? Very nice little track. So that's Father Andreas Schatzel, and I was getting the name of the other priest for you that's with him as well, Franciscan priest. Lovely, lovely harmonies and beautiful music there as well. So that was just a CD handed to me by Father Schatzel there at the conference, the European Conference for Radio Maria. And lovely to share that with you. If Ulrika's listening, she might be able to give us a quick little translation of a verse or two of that. But it was an Ave Maria. Beautiful piece indeed. Orla Sheen was just in touch there as well. She's saying that Dana will be singing her new song in honour of St. Patrick, Light the Fire, in the St. Patrick's Cathedral in New York, not this Friday coming, but on the 14th of May. Cardinal Dolan will be celebrating Mass there. I think Sister Bridge McKenna will be there as well. It'll be an Irish moment on the 14th of May. That's the day after our own birthday and our Radio Maria Maria-thon, in fact, as well. So that might be one worth noting for the diary. The seniors' trade show is in Clayton White's Hotel in Wexford. If you did want to pop along, there's still a bit of time there. It'll be going on this afternoon as well. There'll be the exhibitors hub will be there with holiday and travel, health and well-being, overseas property for those who've got a few bob. And listen, if you've got a few bob and you want some overseas property in heaven, why not invest in some heavenly property and help us along at our work here if you've got that kind of money to throw around. It would be a thought too worth considering. A fashion hub, workshops and demos, information hub, financial planning, technology and new rights and entitlements. I guess it's not a religious thing, obviously. It's a trade moment, but just nice that we got the email there and invited to come along and to pay a few bob too, to get a little stand there. But again, it's a way of us promoting in a field or a realm or an area that again, it's not directly connected with faith, and who knows what good seeds may be sown. And it's increasing its reach all the time. It says up to 80,000 members and various partners with Active Retirement Ireland. So reaching out indeed. You see, we're enjoying much greater fitness and health in senior years now, which is a great blessing. And we're at the benefit of this here in Radio Maria with some marvellous volunteers who come in and help us, and of course retired, but delighted to be coming in to be a part of the work here. So it really is a blessing. So listen, in your senior years, why not consider giving a little bit of time here? Why not consider some resources in this direction too? A real investment into the kingdom of heaven. And isn't that really what it's all about in the end? So I just encourage you. Anyway, that's going on today in Clayton White's Hotel in Wexford there, the Seniors Trade Show. And indeed, we're there alongside other exhibitors as well. Now, I think there was a question came in as well. Let me have a look in the Chatechesis here today. Oh, Vincent sent a voice message. Won't be able to listen to that now till afterwards, Vincent, I'm afraid. Joan was in touch. She said that many years ago, sadly, her mother lost a child on St. Patrick's Day. So, Joan, your brother or your sister, and it was just a sad day that she came home from the hospital without the baby. Joan isn't sure, doesn't know whether or not the baby was baptized, and what happens to those babies and those who are unbaptized in that way. And you know that the idea of old, I won't call it a doctrine because it was only something that was posited as a possibility, and I think it maybe came from the teaching of St. Thomas Aquinas, that there was a place, a kind of excuse me, an intermediary place, which was given the title limbo, which was said to be a place of natural happiness, but not the beatific vision, where the souls of those who had not sinned but had not been baptized would go. But that was never ever a doctrine of the church. It was never officially promulgated as church teaching as such. It was just a theological speculation, you might say, and how it kind of made its way into kind of mainstream teaching, I'm not sure. Quick drink. Instead, the church were teaching, if you look it up in the Catechism, it's a beautiful teaching there, and it's very simple in that it hasn't been revealed to us exactly what happens to the souls of those who are without sin and yet remain unbaptized, except that there is no doubt but that they are in the arms of God, they are in the presence of God. How could it otherwise be? Excuse me. That sure enough they haven't received the sacraments, and yet they're not guilty of any actual sin. Again, they're not guilty of the original sin, even though we bear the effects of original sin, which is why we have baptism as the sacrament of initiation into faith, which incidentally, if we get that sacrament later in life and we are guilty of any sin in baptism, all that sin is washed away. That there isn't need for a first confession at that stage, even though of course it is to be recommended as a practice naturally, but that's the nature of baptism. It does wipe away all sin. So if unbaptized, I should learn off that little, it's a short little passage in the Catechism, but that these souls are in God's hands and in God's care and in God's company. And such is the case. So somebody sent me a beautiful little video. Again, it's just one of these, how did I come across it? It's only about a half a minute long, I'd say. But it was a mother and a very small daughter. The daughter was probably about 3, I'd say. And they were visiting the grave of what seemed like maybe a sibling of this little girl. And just an extraordinary moment, she was being videoed on the camera by her mother. And the little girl was talking to somebody and reaching out to somebody and saying, I want to stay. And then it was just a beautiful moment, as if the invisible person that the little child was speaking to gave a kiss on the cheek to the little girl. She just sort of turned her head in such a way as if she was receiving a kiss, and this person was, really present to this little girl. And then she waved as if the person was taking their leave, and said to her mother, can I go with her? And you couldn't act that. A little 3-year-old couldn't act that out. They were there, obviously, at the grave. Beautiful little poignant moment, as if the person who had died, I was assuming it was a brother or sister, that was present to the little girl in all her innocence, and somehow they were communicating. Beautiful little video. And what can you say of it? What can you make of it? You can't see anything except the little girl gesturing and communicating in her own little way. Very poignant. And you have that beautiful story as well of Colton Burpo. It's an unusual name, but a little boy who had a near-death experience at the age of 4, and he revealed in the course of time, as to his parents, that in his near-death experience he had met his sister, who had died as a result of miscarriage, and revealed this to his mother, who was shocked because he couldn't possibly have known this beforehand. Excuse me. And yet here he was able to reveal that she kept hugging him. He didn't appreciate it so much, and his sister was longing to meet Mum and Dad. And again, this brought great consolation to the mother, of course, especially. And so much so that a book was written on that topic. The name of the book is Heaven is for Real. And there's also a video, a movie was made of it too. Excuse me. Again, the movie Heaven is for Real. So, again, these little things are beautiful insights that affirm our faith, that those who die without the grace of baptism, but not guilty of any sin, the Lord takes and welcomes to himself. And these, of course, are little private revelations, if you like. It doesn't elevate the question into a doctrinal form, but this is our faith. It's just simply consistent with what we believe and the mercy of God as well. It's a beautiful thing. And indeed, the incidence of miscarriage, and so sadly the destruction of unborn life in the womb, the deliberate destruction, means that there are many such souls with the Lord, and perhaps indeed we can invoke them and ask them to accompany us, and look forward to the day when we can meet them too. And that, please God, this is a tremendous consolation to mothers, any mother who has lost a child through any means, that their child is in the arms of God. And the Church's tradition and custom, and I think that's actually in the Catechism as well, it says that a Mass of the angels be celebrated for a child that is lost tragically in that way in the womb, or again without baptism, or even a young child who has been baptized. The Church recommends a Mass of the angels, not that they become angels, but that they are in the company of the angels with God. Beautiful idea. So thanks for that, Joan, and good to address that little question from time to time as well. So very good. Do stay with us. It's 12 o'clock. Thanks to Adele there in the mixing desk. Thanks to Nuria looking after the camera here and everything as well. And thank you for being part of Radio Maria and the blessings you bring through your prayer, through your support, and especially through your financial contributions, of which we are always in great need. And as I say, it flows in, but immediately flows back out. We have quite a substantial bill this month to pay for our Sairview. That's not a cheap bill by any means. That's in the thousands. So every contribution indeed is so gratefully received. Now it's 12 o'clock. May God bless you and be with you, and glad to have had your company today. Do please stay, and we'll allow our angels' bells to ring, and we'll return to with our midday prayer.